Hey everybody, I'm Kevin, and today I'm going to give you guys a 20,000 mile review of my Ford Maverick I purchased. I've had it just since May of last year, and I just hit 24,000 miles, and I'm going to give you guys a little 20,000 mile update. I gave you guys a 10,000 mile update, and I've had a few issues since the 10,000 mile update, so let's just jump into it. At 20,000 miles, Jillian and I took a road trip to Savannah, Georgia. And basically the entire trip, the truck had a horrible rattle. It was coming from inside the dash, that I thought. I posted a video. A lot of people thought it was a skid plate or a heat shield inside the engine. And that's kind of what it sounded like, but I was almost positive it was inside the dash. It was like right behind the heating and cooling controls. But sure enough, I got invited to Stita. I put the truck up on the stand and I looked underneath while it was up. And the exhaust right underneath the truck, which would have been like underneath the dash, slipped out of the hanger and it was just like resting against part of the unibody there. So luckily we kind of just pulled it back, slipped it back in the little rubber fitting, and it's been quiet and smooth ever since. And I can only imagine that was on a trail, one of the sandy trails. I kind of went in some ruts and the whole bottom of the truck was just dragging in the dirt, so the sand pretty much just pulled the exhaust out of the hanger. It was just hanging down. So that was one crisis that was diverted. The second issue that I had that probably went on for maybe 1,000, 1,500 miles was the dash. When I would drive to and from work or anywhere really, it would kind of flicker. It would get really bright and then go dim. It'd get really bright and go dim, and the radio would reset. So sometimes it'd be like once a car trip, and then it got to the point where like every 15-20 minutes the radio would just shut off, reboot, and then you have to, plug your phone back in and bring the GPS and everything back up. And it was doing that pretty often, to the point where I would just drive with the radio all the way off. And that turned out to be the positive wire on the battery was just loose enough to where it would run everything in the truck, but the electronics for like the radio, it just wasn't enough for the radio, and it just kept rebooting. So I tightened down the battery terminals, and the truck has been fine ever since. Like I said, I have, I have 23,635 miles, and other than those two issues that I solved, and basically they were my fault, not any part of the Ford Motor Company, but other than those two issues, I've had nothing wrong with this truck. The interior is holding up fine, with the exception of the silver, the little chrome on these buttons right here. Within like 500 miles, they started peeling off, and it's pretty sharp, so you kind of forget about it. You go to put the window up or down, and it'll give you like a little paper cut. But that's one of those things I can just go in and it's under warranty. They'll put new buttons on there or whatever. But that's the only thing that's happened inside the dash of the truck. The seats, even with a dog in the back, seats have held up fine. All the stitching, sliding in and out of the truck on the sides of the seats, they look fine. Like this part right here, it looks just as good as it did when it was new. No scratches, even though the dog Goose puts his paws up there. Even his nails don't scratch any of the leather like this, or the fake leather of the seats. I give the interior probably 7.5 out of 10. There is a lot of like plastic, which is really easy to wipe down and stuff like that. So far nothing's faded, like sun faded. I did get my windows tinted, pretty dark, so that probably helps out a lot. But like I said, I have no complaints about the interior. These are the stock Scorpion tires. Everybody complains about them, but as you guys see in my videos, man, I drive this thing everywhere. Pretty much Florida trains, gravel roads, really sandy areas, and don't really have any issues with the tires. I'm sure they're really low entry-level tires, but that's pretty much it as far as complaints about the truck. I do really enjoy driving this thing. It is really fun, and I'll go ahead and show you guys some of the upgrades that I've done. As far as engine modifications go, all I have is a K&N cold air intake. It was about $300, and my advice to anybody that wants an intake, save your money. It doesn't even sound that good. I bought it because I wanted to hear the turbo a little more when I drive, and you get some air sucking noises, but it's not worth $300 at all. And you get absolutely no performance with this. Now if you had other things and you got a tune and kind of like linked them all, synced them all together, yes, it would help out. But the air filter intake by itself, you're just gonna get some engine air noises, but it doesn't even sound that good, to be honest with you. That's my opinion on the cold air intake from K&N. Two other modifications that I really highly recommend is I have this front Steeda strut tower brace, and it goes from that strut tower across to that side. I only recommend this, it's not that expensive, so it's really reasonable. I recommend that only paired with the rear adjustable sway bar. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I have another video where they installed it, but they took off the factory sway bar, put the adjustable one on there. It is set on level 2. There's only 3 levels, and it's 30% stiffer than stock. And the minute I drove in the parking lot with the suspension, it was night and day difference. So I highly recommend the rear adjustable sway bar and the strut tower bar. Other than those 2 items in the cold air intake, I also have a Steeda blow-off valve. It takes about maybe 10 minutes to install. It's 3 bolts, comes with all the hardware. It's about 85 bucks, I think, like that. Offers no performance, it's just all sound. It sounds really cool when you let off the throttle and you get that noise from the turbo. But outside of those items, I have not done anything to the truck. It's been a really great truck. I really do enjoy driving it. So with the weight of everything that's on the back of the truck, I have the tent, the rack, water, I have awning, I have all this other stuff, as well as everything inside. I have a box full of stuff. I have a refrigerator back there, a battery bank, and that stuff is not light by any means. Even with all that around town, I'm averaging 26, almost 26 and a half miles to the gallon if I drive, you know, pretty reasonable through the city. On the interstate, however, I'm getting up to 29, and that is with the cruise control set around 75, 76 miles an hour. And to me, that is probably one of the best parts of the truck. That's really what sold me on the truck, is for all my road trips and all my driving. I do save a lot of money compared to my Tacoma, which was getting 12 miles to the gallon by itself. And then if I pulled a trailer, I was getting single digits on the interstate. So that was probably one of the big reasons I went with the Ford Maverick. It is a lot of fun to drive. It does feel really sporty, but I can't really say enough good things about this truck. A lot of people ask me what it was like going from a Tacoma to the Ford Maverick, and obviously you're going to give up a lot of off-road capabilities, selectable four-wheel drive, being able to go over obstacles, rocks, and stuff like that. But for just heading up some forest roads, some trails, and all the sandy areas in Florida, I couldn't pass up the Ford Maverick. So to answer everyone's questions, I am very happy with this truck. Unfortunately, if you want one, the ordering banks are only open for like 7 to 14 days for the 2023 model, and they closed. So now you have to wait a whole year to be able to order the 2024 model. So whoever has a Ford Maverick has one, and if not, you're going to be on the waiting list for quite a while. So if you guys have any questions about the Ford Maverick, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer them the best I can. But like I said, no issues with the truck. I mentioned a couple of things that were mainly my fault. Off-roading, the exhaust slipped out of the hanger. We slipped it back in. All the rattling went away. The battery terminal came loose, and some of my accessories were going a little haywire. Tightened the battery terminal up, and the truck's been smooth sailing ever since. I'm getting pretty consistent fuel mileage. Like I said, up to 29 miles an hour. I'm sorry, up to 29 miles to the gallon on the interstate, and 26, maybe 26 and a half around town. I have gotten 33 miles to the gallon on back roads, but that's, you know, going about 55, 60 miles an hour for, you know, 30, 40 miles, and I'm getting mid 30s when it comes to fuel mileage like that. But other than that, I have no complaints about the truck, and I'm going to keep driving it. I'll check in at 30,000 miles. Thanks for watching.